I have been a dedicated Mac computer user for the last 20 years since I bought my first iMac way back in college. And today, for the first time since 2005, I'll be setting up a Windows PC. The last time I had a PC, it ran Windows XP, and it did not do so particularly well. And as somebody who is super into video editing and audio editing and graphic design, the world of Apple and Mac, especially 20 years ago, really made a lot of sense and was kind of the only actual option if you wanted to dive into those kind of creative worlds. I think a lot has changed since then, and in terms of that stuff, if you want to do video or audio editing, graphic design, you just kind of pick the tool that works best for you. I think you can do great jobs on Windows and PCs, awesome jobs on Macs. I worked as a high school teacher for 11 years where I taught digital media in specifically Mac labs, in Apple distinguished programs. But as much as I've been an Apple user for a long time, this is definitely not an I'm switching video. This is not a let's pit these operating systems against each other and you have to take a side because one is better than the other. I just really want to explore what has happened in the world of PCs for a long time. And I also want to be able to play games in a way that doesn't drive me crazy. So if you want to jump just to the me setting it up and trying to figure this out as someone who's never done this before, use the chapter markers. If you want a little bit of context, that's what I'm going to share with you right now. So over the past year, my wife and I have gotten more and more into playing games on our computers and a lot of stuff with our friends, things like Repo, Lethal Company, things that you play online with friends. We've been using Crossover on our Macs because that lets you basically trick the Mac into thinking it's running Windows, and then you can run some Windows games and stuff without having to like figure out boot camp and stuff. I don't even know if you can do that on the M series processor. It's the whole thing. But running those applications on a Mac is definitely not the best experience, and that made both of us kind of curious about what it would be like to have a PC for gaming. And then I kind of couldn't help make the connections, but it would be also really helpful to have a PC for work stuff that I do, for streaming, for being able to test out certain pieces of gear and software that are only available on Windows and not available on Mac. And up until now, anytime anyone asks questions about this stuff, I just have to say, I don't know. Being able to actually try those things and use those things and form opinions on that, I think would actually be really helpful and super fun. And I'd be lying if I said this wasn't one of the things I was most excited about. 20 years ago, when my last PC was just a big beige box that made a bunch of loud clicking and whirring noises, these are way cooler now. Like, just the aesthetic, the design, the process of customizing and upgrading computers, that's always obviously been something you can do with PCs, but it seems, from an outsider's perspective, more fun than ever before. And so that's something that has been hugely appealing to me. And so a couple of months ago, I made a YouTube community post asking for input on what I would need to put together a PC from scratch, to build my own PC. And I got so much help and so much info, and it's really awesome. And I can't thank everybody enough for explaining things to me like I'm 5 years old, because I did not know what the heck I was talking about or what I was getting into. I put together a whole shopping list, and turns out computers can get expensive pretty quickly. So my wife Heather and I were trying to figure out budgets and how we could afford a PC, and ultimately we each want our own, so it's not just one computer, but it would be two computers. And I received an email from someone who saw that post and said that they had built a PC a few years ago. They weren't really using it, and they'd be happy to just send it my way, no strings attached, which I felt super guilty about and said, no, thank you. But the reality of trying to piece together something from scratch, it is expensive, and it was something that was probably going to have to be put on the back burner for a while and take a long time. And then so I ended up talking to this person a bit more, and essentially they were just like, I really want my computer to be used. I just want you to enjoy it. If you need to change it, if you need to update it, if eventually it gets passed along to someone else that you know, that's cool. I just want things to be used, and I feel like this could help. So huge thank you to Bobby for sending this to me and just being ultra kind. He was very, very nice and said that I didn't need to like share anything, but I do want to share his ethos in this, so I hope that's okay. I think this is really cool. He said to me this morning, actually, when I told him I was filming the video and if it'd be okay to say his name, he said, I wanted to donate this to help out and to support you and the channel, if anything, to pitch the concept of paying your tech forward. Anyone can trade in and get a little discount towards their next model, but paying it forward through donation of hardware or time and training, teaching can open new opportunities for someone else. In today's world, I think we could use a little more giving. So that is incredibly kind. that's just a really cool example of someone doing something super kind, super awesome. And I promise this will be very well taken care of and very much appreciated. And it's like Christmas. I'm so excited for this. And as Bobby and I were talking, we also kind of realized, as fun as it is, and as much as I still do want to build a computer from scratch one day, and that's kind of my plan for my wife Heather's computer after this, this is probably a more realistic scenario. There's definitely no shortage of videos out there where people are, maxing out a PC and building to the best specs and making everything as, kind of maxed out as possible. But there are probably a lot of people in this similar situation where you kind of inherit something from someone else that's a few years old and you need to get it up and running. So my whole plan today is to get this up and running, but also share that from the perspective of a Mac user who's not used a PC in 20 years and has never built a PC ever. And then also, what do you need to do if you have a pretty much working PC, but you just need to maybe upgrade or change a few things? How do you get things installed, set up, and ready to go? So with all that said, I do think we are ready to go. I have the spec lists for this computer right here, so let me read that to you. I know some of these words. This is from 2020. It's an NZXT case with an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X 3.6 gigahertz processor, an MSI GeForce RTX 2070 video card, an MSI MPG B550 motherboard, and 32 gigs of RAM of Trident Z DDR4 RAM. So even though it's a few years old, those are still quite decent specs, and it's going to no doubt perform the basic stuff that I need way better than my Mac is. And of course, the benefit of a PC versus a Mac is how easy it is to upgrade things going forward. So I am excited. I think this is gonna suit my needs fine as is. But down the line, if there is something I want to upgrade, it's nice to know I don't necessarily have to upgrade the entire computer at once. I can do one component at a time. And I do have a few things here that I need to set up and install today to get this up and running. And so this whole process started with a trip to Best Buy where I needed to get an SSD for the computer because there's not currently an SSD in there. So the one I chose is a Samsung 990 Pro 2 terabyte version. I wanted the 4, but this was half the price of the 4. So 2 terabytes is fine for me. And this is one without a heatsink. There is a version that does come with one, but the computer already has a heatsink, so I didn't need that. That was a thing I had to learn about that I didn't know anything about before. Then I knew I would need to install Windows onto this SSD, so I tried to download Windows and create a bootable flash drive, like thumb drive, with it on my Mac, and I couldn't do that. Supposedly you can do it through Boot Camp Assistant, but it turns out that currently on newer Macs, the only function of the Boot Camp Assistant app is to tell you that you cannot use the app. I tried a few other third-party applications and they just weren't working. So it was another trip to Best Buy where I had to actually purchase a physical copy of Windows 11. Not only have I never bought a copy of Windows before, but I have not bought a physical copy of software even when I had my last PC, I cannot remember the last time I bought a physical copy of software. And so this has a flash drive in it that I can then use to install Windows onto the SSD. And the last upgrade is something I'm actually really excited about that I've been wanting for a long time, but it's a bit more of a pain to use this with a Mac. This is the Elgato CamLink Pro because I can't have a PC and not plan on using it for some kind of streaming and content creation. And so this is a 4 HDMI input capture card that can do up to 4K 30. So for a long time, if you want multiple 4K inputs in your computer, not using an external thing like I'm using here with the YoloBox Extreme, this has been one of the few ways to do it. I was trying to decide between the CamLink Pro and the Blackmagic DeckLink, which is similar and I think a bit higher spec. But the good news is this is discontinued. And so it's actually gone down a lot in price. Sadly, they don't make them anymore, but if you can still find it, I found this for $250. And the retail price used to be like well over $500. The Blackmagic version is like $700 or $800. So this seemed like a really good addition. What this will let me do is connect HDMI sources to the computer, and then it will be able to see the individual sources. So I can, if I have 4 cameras connected, each one can be brought into software or whatever as its own source, which is super cool. And that's something I think will be really fun, really helpful. Plus, I just wanted the chance to finally be able to use a CamLink Pro. So let's take a look at what we've got with the computer itself. This is literally, I have to also share my excitement for this because when somebody offers to give you something for free, you're grateful no matter what, right? And you get what you get and you don't get upset. And so when someone says, hey, I've got an old computer, but it's decently spec'd, I'll send it your way, you know, I set my expectations low and reasonable. This is essentially what I was piecing together in the cart. I wanted AMD over Intel. This has AMD, and there's no real reason for that other than that the last time I had an Intel Mac, it just was a nightmare, and so I just don't want to deal with Intel anymore. And this has an AMD processor in it. And the thing also about PCs, which I know does not affect the performance, they look really cool. And I wanted something in a white case. Actually, I had no idea this was a white case until I got it and took it out of the box yesterday. And then I also, I love the RGB, and you get to see all the parts. It's like Legos for adults and building for, it's cool that the computer isn't just an ugly beige box anymore, but it's like a living thing that, I don't know, it's very cool. I have a spot for it over here that I'm excited about, and it's going to be a cool addition to like backgrounds of videos and stuff. Plus, I just love these like windows in these cases, windows in this case. So I'm gonna take this out. Now I did notice when this was delivered, the GPU was kind of crooked like this, and I was worried that it was broken. And then some quick Googling revealed that GPU sag is a thing. As processors have gotten bigger and heavier, they can tend to sort of sag a little bit. And so I actually did order a little bracket that's gonna help support that. But in the meantime, this little microphone extension tube is kind of the exact right size. So I can just take this in here and kind of prop that up, and now it has a little more support, and later today I should have the official bracket in there. And then over here you can see all the I/O on the computer. I mean, I'm aware of some of this. I don't know what all, I mean, I guess I know what it does, but I don't know what I'm gonna actually need and not need in a lot of cases. And then the Camlink Pro will be somewhere in here, I think. So I think the first thing to do is install the SSD, right? Which should be pretty simple. I have 2 terabytes in my MacBook Pro currently, which is my main work computer, and that has been more than enough. So I did figure 2 terabytes would be okay here. This is so small. There's nothing to this. So from what I understand, I think the SSD goes kind of right in here. I have a photo, and it's time to go to YouTube and watch a video.
This is the cool. I'm here to show you how to install. I'm also going to show you how to hook up, and then I'm going to go into.
Oh, I think we'll need to lay this on its side. I can definitely see things a little better in here now. So I believe I need to take off this cover here. Ah, okay. You can see there's a little slot in here, which I believe is where the SSD fits. So maybe you can see better with my phone. It just kind of fits in there, and then there's this little screw that I have to take out so I can hold this down, and that was, I think that's it. And then I put the cover back on, which acts as the heat sink. So there it is now, all attached in there, and then I can put this cover back on top. All right, the next thing to install would be the Camlink Pro. So I cam link all my cameras together professionally. I've never used one of these before, so I'm not 100% sure what it even looks like in person. Alrighty. Ooh. PCIe card, which has 4 HDMIs on the back and then slots in to the computer somehow. There's a little open slot here, so I think it just goes right below. Is it seriously that easy? No. Okay, let's tilt this back up. So it looks like it's this slot here, which I guess I just unscrew this. And then this, I'm guessing, just comes out. Oh, there it goes. And then this goes, yeah. Okay. How, it's so hard to not feel like I'm damaging anything. Back to another YouTube video.
In this video, we're going to show you how to install your Elgato Camlink Pro.
They made that look very easy. They were like, yeah, you just plug it in, dude. It's almost like the case doesn't want to let this part in. Oh, can I take this whole thing off? Oh, I'm having a hard time fitting this in all the way, and I think I can just take off this area to give me a little more room. Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Okay, yeah. Plenty of room now. That was the move. Now it just slides in super easily. Barely an inconvenience. All right. Be lying if I said I didn't get a little bit nervous there. Thought I was gonna break something right away. Turns out I'm just a newbie. Now we have 4 HDMI inputs, which hopefully will work just fine. And then I do have 2 Wi-Fi antennas that I can just put on here, put them there for now. Okay, so kind of moving things around here to get set up. I've got the computer over here and it is plugged in, and I've got this tiny monitor here so we can see what's happening. Eventually, this monitor behind it, I have 2 monitors here that my Mac Mini is on. This one is a 34-inch ultra-wide. That's going to be the monitor for this computer because it still has an open HDMI. But for now, we're just gonna use this little tiny monitor to see things. Definitely not like the full glory of the computer. And then I need a keyboard and a mouse. So I have my Razer Naga V2 Pro, which I really like. I've been using this for like a year now. And I'm just gonna put this dongle somewhere in here. And then Keychron did actually just recently send me this keyboard, which is super duper nice. And I currently have it in a Mac configuration, but I can use it in Windows because on the back, this just has Windows and a Mac switch. And then I just see currently it has like the command key and stuff. So I need to switch out a few keys. So now is a bit of a moment of truth. I guess I can put the side on here to keep dust out of there. We can turn this on and see if it powers on. From what I understand, I'm supposed to just press the backspace key a bunch, and then this will boot into the BIOS of the computer and we can see what it's actually doing. So let's see. Moment of truth. Oh, it's doing stuff. Look at that. It's lit up, it's RGBing, no fires. My screen is screening. I don't even know if it's the, wait, oh, it's a thing. It's alive. I've noticed going through here that moving the mouse is very weird. It's like super laggy. We'll see. Okay, couple things I guess we need to check. I know the point of the BIOS is to make sure that everything is working and registering properly, and then we can use this to launch the Windows installer right here. So I can see that the CPU speed 3.6, the RAM speed seems correct, everything else seems correct. I don't know how to check the SSD. So I think I figured out I have been in easy mode and we need to go to advanced mode, and now I have a bit more info here. So there's our CPU, here's our memory, we have, right, 32 gigs ready to go. That came with it. Here's our storage. Here we go. The Samsung Pro 2 terabyte. It's showing up there. And that's the main stuff, right? That's what we need. It's working, right? It's working. It's computer, yeah. And I was actually wrong. This is actually easy mode. As you can see, it says right there, it says easy mode. And then the other one was advanced. But to me, advanced mode looked simpler? I don't know. So I found out some info, and what I'm currently doing is testing the SSD to make sure it's good, which it should be. We're at 16% right there. Rather than try to walk you through all these things that I'm learning for myself right now, I am using what was recommended to me by a bunch of people on that community post I mentioned earlier, the Linus Tech Tips. I built my PC now what video, which I would recommend you follow if you're in this situation, because it has a lot more variables covered in case you need to, you know, try out different things and just sort of do different stuff and make sure everything works. So I'm making sure everything works, and then we'll figure out how to install Windows, and I'll explain that because I think that is more universal to kind of like every setup. And while we wait for these things to set up, I do want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, which is YoloLiv, who create the YOLO box and the YOLO cams and all kinds of very cool creator-driven tools. Because even though I'm building a PC right now, this whole video has been recorded and switched with the YOLO box Extreme that I'm using right here, and this is extremely cool. And then I'm also using a couple of my different YOLO cams. This overhead camera is the YOLO Cam S3, and I really love this, especially as an overhead camera because of the focus, meaning I can easily show you something and then jump right back into what I was working on before, and it just kind of makes life easier. And then this camera over here that's filming this is the YOLO Cam S7, which is a micro four thirds webcam, and that is running in here in addition to my other normal cameras that I use with the YOLO box all the time and in all my different videos and stuff. And I thought it'd be interesting to share this here because if you're watching this video, you might not know about the YOLO box, and the YOLO cams, but they might actually fit into your workflow really well because on its own, this is a standalone full-on production suite where I can add graphics, I can live stream, I can adjust my audio, I can do anything and everything I need in order to create a cool video or a cool live stream, whether it's pre-recorded or done live. But additionally, it is essentially also a capture card and an input device. So I can plug this into a PC, into a Windows computer, or I can connect it to a Mac and then bring in all of the graphics, all of the video inputs into whatever software application I want to use on my computer. I've been fortunate enough to know the people at YOLO for a number of years now, and I've been working with their products for a long time. And especially in the past year or two, it is wild how fantastic they've gotten. I feel like they've really come into their own in terms of creating ultra powerful tools for everybody from a home creator all the way up to event production and full-on multicam, you know, huge team things that are beyond what I do here. I really want to give a huge thank you to YOLO for sponsoring this video and helping to enable my creative workflow to be so much easier than it ever has been before. And speaking of workflows, let's get back to work setting up this PC. So it looks like everything has passed the test and we're ready to install Windows. As I understand it, I just turn off the computer while it's in BIOS. Let's see. Okay, now we can grab our Windows 11 stuff. Here's a little flash drive. From what little I know, I just need to take this, connect it to the computer, and then when I boot up the computer, it should just start booting from this. So let's see, we'll pop that in there. I got the USB-A drive in the correct way on the first try, by the way. And there we go. Is it? It is. Is it? I don't know. This is different. This is the Windows screen now. Okay. Oh, and my mouse is not all laggy and weird anymore. It's just like a normal mouse. Now we'll see how this actually plays out. What I'm expecting to do here is try to install Windows, get it working, and then sort of figure out what doesn't work, which would probably be a combination of drivers I need to download and install, and or going back into the BIOS and changing some settings. Right now, I would call it a success if I can get Windows set up so that I can unplug this drive and then the computer just logs into Windows when I turn it on. That'll be a victory for the time being. So we're going to select English. We have a US keyboard. We are going to install Windows 11. And I agree everything will be deleted because I have nothing on here. Ooh, now we got to do the product key. I did notice there was this when I bought Windows, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is the product key. Hey, there it is. All right, so I am getting a message that says this PC does not meet Windows 11 requirements, which obviously it does. So I think what that means is I need to go back into the BIOS and change some security stuff and rewatch the Linus video and that stuff. Okay, let's go to settings and boot, and Windows OS configuration is probably where I need to go. And secure boot, I think, is our problem. Secure boot, I think, needs to be enabled. So now we will try this again, pop in the Windows drive, go through the process again, and see if secure boot will let me load it, or if it's gonna give me the boot. It's about time. It's just so pretty though, even though I haven't gotten it like loaded yet. This is awesome. Still giving me a problem, so back to BIOS. So I think I found another very important setting to change. I need to go into settings while the BIOS is in advanced mode. I definitely did not watch a YouTube video to learn how to do this, and I just know this. We go into security, and then we go into trusted computing. And this one's security device support, we need to enable that. And that, hopefully, will get us into a place that we need to be. And then we can just go back, we can save and exit. And now once again, we will see if we can get Windows going. Is this our window to Windows? Oh, look at that, look at that. We went further into the setup process. Yeah, okay. Never been so excited to agree to an end user license agreement before. We're gonna choose the SSD we installed. Install Windows, keep nothing. Keep nothing. Look at that. It's happening. Now we can go through the rest of the setup. Give all my data and personal info. Yes, let's do network. Probably need to install a driver of some kind. So I think what I need to do is get another flash drive, go to my Mac, download some drivers, put them on the flash drive, put the flash drive in here, and then install the drivers. So my problem was I keep getting stuck on this screen where I need to install the driver, but unfortunately, I can't figure that out. I did find a video, which I will link in the description because I feel like this is a common problem based on what I found. It involved a simple like command prompt thing. And then what that did is it gave me this option. The computer restarted and now I have the option to click I don't have internet. And then I should be able to finish installing Windows without an internet connection. And then I can install the drivers and do all that stuff once the operating system's actually installed. So it might be something to do with me trying to download the drivers on a Mac. I'm not sure. I put them on my little flash drive. I tried to find them there and it kept giving me like this 00BE00000 error thing. And I just couldn't get it to work. I even plugged in an Ethernet cable, didn't have any luck. So if I can get things installed without the internet, cool. And then we can just take our time and install the stuff later. Oh, look at that. Hello. Appreciate you. Thank you. Get it ready for me. Hey, look at this. I have an operating system. Neat. So here's what I'm going to do now that this seems to be a working computer missing most of the drivers that it needs is I'm actually going to go put it where it belongs and then install the drivers, and I'll catch up with you after I do that. So this has been my Mac Mini setup for a while. My plan is to use this left widescreen monitor for the PC, mainly because this one only has one input, and yeah, so it kind of is what it is. But I have this corner here, and this is gonna be the perfect spot for it. I have to move my Joey Decord and Philip Grubauer bobbleheads, and it's probably gonna block my Kraken S, so I'm gonna have to move my Seattle Kraken S somewhere else. One thing I did just do as I'm getting everything set up is update the BIOS, and now my mouse is no longer laggy. It was like so hard to use the mouse before. This version is now from 2025. The previous BIOS version was from 2020. So that's a big update. Now I can replace this mic tube with the real bracket. They look pretty similar, but the difference with the real one is that the bottom has a magnet on it, so it keeps it in place a little bit more, and then the top has a pad on it. And so that means what you're able to do is screw this out to adjust the height where you want it, and then you can turn this little locking nut down, and that'll be basically where it stops. So when there's pressure applied on the top, it won't sag down anymore. And now the GPU should have all the support it needs. So now I've got everything up and running. It took a little bit of time to install the drivers and all that, and there's definitely still a Windows learning curve that I have to learn to adjust to, but that's totally just part of the process. The computer is doing everything and more that I needed and wanted it to do. When I installed Windows, I was able to download a bunch of the drivers to my MacBook Pro, put those on a flash drive, put those into the computer, and then that let me like enable Wi-Fi and all that. I will link to the videos I followed to do all this in the description because they can explain way better than I could. I watched a few Linus Tech Tip videos, which really helped, but also there was one from a channel called This Bytes for You that was specifically about flashing BIOS and installing Windows, and that completely saved the day, especially because he was using a lot of the exact same hardware that I'm using here. So you can see the PC up and running back here. That's this monitor here. This is my Mac Mini over here. So this is all Windows 11 and the PC, and it's working great. I don't know how to show this is working. Look at me, I can move stuff around there. But if I go into some games and open those up, I'll kind of show you what the performance is like there. So the rest of setup was fairly self-explanatory, going in and installing drivers, installing different components. I guess something I've not had to do before on a computer, or at least on a Mac, is get different drivers and applications for different parts of the computer. So as you probably know, if you build PCs, your motherboard, your GPU, all those things can potentially have like their own applications to kind of dial things in and adjust them outside of the BIOS. And I love that because you get tons of customization, even though I don't know for sure what I'm doing with all of it, but it's working. And it's working great. I did want to show, now Repo is one of my favorite games ever. Normally you play with a bunch of people, but just right here, hopefully you could see, just in this isn't a screen capture, this is just me literally screen recording the screen. Everything here is like I've never I've never experienced this game like this, where I can actually do things and move, and look how just fluid and nice everything is. I don't think I'm gonna find any friends to deal with here, but like, I've not seen this game look this way. Let's leave it here and wait for something spooky to happen. You can game on a Mac, and there's certain games that run really well on Macs, and there's certain things you can use like Crossover to get it going, which is what I've been using for over a year at this point. And it's like, it's fine, but as soon as I jumped into this experience, words cannot really describe how much better of an experience this is to what I'm used to. Like, I could get it going on my Mac and it was fine, but I can't believe this is what, like, all my friends that I've been playing online with, this is what they've been experiencing. And it's like seeing in black and white and then realizing that the entire world is seeing in color. And you didn't know that the whole time until suddenly Wizard of Oz, you see color. That's like the same experience I have now. It's like not even close. Suffice it to say, I am extremely happy with how this computer is working and what it's able to do and what it's letting me do. And it's been so much fun. Now, I've never really been a huge benchmark person when it comes to computers, just because I don't find the numbers to be that relatable. Just because something in a benchmark says one thing, it's hard to know what that actually means in your real life, like your day-to-day experience. Does the computer do what I need it to do? In this case, the computer seems to be doing everything I need it to do and so much more. And I even went beyond just, recreational stuff and gaming, and I installed like OBS and DaVinci Resolve and some of those more like creator-focused, work-focused applications that I use a lot. So far, those have worked fantastic, and we'll kind of see. Time will tell. I know something that I remember from my old Windows days was that even if you kind of didn't do anything with the computer, just over time, it would sort of get bogged down and you had to like defragment your hard drive. I don't know if you have to defragment hard drives anymore. I feel like you don't. So that's something that I will just know more about as time goes on. Like, does the computer continue to work well, continue to keep its functionality and all that, or does it kind of have those problems that I remember from having with PCs in the past? And we will see. I have a feeling it has to be significantly improved than it was 20 years ago. But I did run some benchmarks just because I was curious. So I just used user benchmark because it kind of did everything all at once. And essentially, it came back great. It passed the test as it is a computer. And really, it's exactly what you would expect from a computer made with 5-plus-year-old components, right? Like, there are probably still some tweaks I can make both in the component applications and in the BIOS to make things even work better. But I have zero complaints as is. But even that is something I don't think I really need to do anytime soon, because it's working great. Like, it's doing everything I need it to do, so why would I need to upgrade it? I think where I would start to see issues would be if I were doing like 4K displays, but the display the computer is currently connected to and all the displays that we have are not 4K. So that's not going to be something that I have to worry about. I feel like if I were doing that 4K displays, 4K gaming, all that, then we might be pushing the processor and probably the GPU to some of their limits, and they might need to be updated. But with a 1080, experience, it kind of kicks butt. And so even though it's 5 years old, it is fine. Things have plateaued and matured so much. It's very different from the 90s and the early 2000s, where every year there was a huge leap in technology. I think that applies for all kinds of tech, not just computers, but I think that situation is so much less common now, and you can get by with using things longer, using older parts. Things don't fall out of date nearly as quickly as they used to. So far, it's also played really nice with anything I've connected to it. I love my Rodecaster Pros. So my Rodecaster Duo, what's really cool about this is it has 2 USB outputs, so I can run this to the PC and the Mac at the same time and run their audio through here, and then have the audio go through the Rodecaster from the Rodecaster to my computer speakers or headphones or whatever, and route it through different applications. So other than plugging in a USB cable, I didn't have to do anything here, which is really, really cool. And anytime any webcams, any peripherals I've connected have just kind of worked. I did watch a Linus Tech Tips video about like what to do with Windows 11 after you install it, and it kind of showed a bunch of stuff to uninstall, which kind of made it a less obtrusive experience, where you sort of don't have things popping up and trying to sell you stuff or take control of the system or whatever. You just sort of have a more like user-controlled experience, which honestly, in these days, it's not that much different from macOS either. So in terms of Windows, I guess that's sort of the thing I was also really curious about. Like, I expected the experience of playing games to be better on this, but as someone who hasn't used Windows since Windows XP, what was that going to be like? And it's fine. It's fine. It's different. There's a learning curve, some old school muscle memories coming back. It's kind of funny because some things are just new and different, but I kind of like them, just the overall interface and the way the system works. Some things are very similar to macOS, so that takes no adjustment at all. And then other things are like super similar, not even to just Windows XP, but I'm having like flashbacks to like Windows 98, the way certain things work, or even the way like certain dialog boxes and everything kind of look and the way you interact with them. It's like, oh, cool. This is sort of how I remember this from when I was a kid in the 90s. It's kind of the same. So that's actually been pretty neat. I have no complaints. It's doing literally everything that I wanted to do and more because the results are even better than I expected. So again, time will tell. I really don't want to pitch this as an I'm switching situation because for me, I love macOS, I love my Macs, but I also want to dive into this world, and it's kind of like having a hammer and a screwdriver in your toolbox. Like, it would almost be foolish to be like, I only use hammers. Sometimes you need a screwdriver, or vice versa. So to me, it's just adding another tool to the toolkit and something that I'm excited about, not just for gaming, but also, like I said, in more practical uses. I can now test and use equipment and software that doesn't work on macOS or also has a Windows version. I can kind of see how that actually performs instead of having zero idea about it. So hopefully that enables me to do more with my YouTube channel and the videos that I make and all that kind of stuff. And it just, hopefully it opens up a world of possibilities. We will see over time, like does the use case shift or stay, does it stay mostly Mac with a little Windows? Does it go Windows? Like, I'd be curious, does it go back and forth? I don't know. I think that would be quite fun. The next project on the horizon, so I think what's really cool about this is a 5-year-old computer. For me to actually get it up and running was under $300 of things I had to spend. I had to get an SSD. That was $160. And then I bought Windows 11, the license for Windows 11. So that was $130. So that's what I had to spend to get the computer up and running. I chose to buy the Camlink Pro, the extra capture card to put in there for fun. That was not something that was necessary. So that's overall pretty minimal investment to get the computer up and running. And there's, at least for the time being, there's nothing I can see that I would need to upgrade in here. So even though I didn't build this computer from scratch, I really did learn a lot by just installing the things that I did install, building up the operating system from scratch, digging into the BIOS and all that. And that does a couple things. First, I was kind of expecting to have to make more upgrades to this computer more quickly just because, it's 5 years old. No, it suits my needs more than enough for the foreseeable future. So that means I can focus on the next project, which is building a PC for my wife, Heather. Her needs are really similar to mine, which is primarily she wants a PC for gaming. She's also living that crossover life on Mac, and she wants to cross over away from that. It's just not, it can kind of get the job done, but it is not the best experience at all. She does have a few different needs than me though, especially just kind of based on some of the constraints of her desk setup and her office. I think she's gonna want a smaller case, so that might determine some different components that go inside the computer. And what I've learned though, what I'm really excited about after this is I really don't think we need to max that thing out at all. I think anything we build for her is gonna end up having higher specs than my computer because it's gonna be newer. Everything's probably gonna be a bit newer than what I'm using in here. So it's going to be more powerful than this, which is plenty powerful. And that means we don't need to worry about going to the highest quality stuff, like most maxed out pieces possible. And so I think it'll be a really fun, practical project of, building a decently powerful, budget-ish friendly PC. And honestly, I think she has gone longer than I did without using a Windows computer too. So it'll also be a fun user experience to see what she thinks and what it's like for her to dive into the world of Windows as a primarily Mac user. So thank you again so much to Bobby for enabling me to do this, for passing on your tech and letting me have so much fun with it. I cannot tell you the amount of joy it has brought to me. Thank you again to YOLO for sponsoring this video. And if you want to know more about some of the other tools that I use for my videos and my channel and just kind of my day-to-day, I do have a couple videos that you can check out right here.